Okay, let's talk shop. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, and welcome to the first virtual episode of Positively Sloped. Scott is down in Sarasota at the Money Show, Money, 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 and I am at the home office today a little bit under the weather, which some salient talking points to begin there. Virtual being, Scott, the greatest Cyber Monday, Black Friday days that we've ever seen coming off Thanksgiving, which we'll get to in a minute. How was your Thanksgiving? I mean, you clearly avoided the crappy Chicago weather that we got 15 inches of snow here.
Well, Jake, you got about 5 inches, so you added a 1 there, but that's fine. We'll count that as good because I didn't get any where I was. I wasn't even in Sarasota yet, Jake, speaking at the Money Show this week, in fact, but actually it was in Ohio last week where we were supposed to get snow twice and basically got a lot of rain, snow mix, if even that. So pretty much a nice, warm Thanksgiving, relatively speaking, and it looks like a warm Thanksgiving for the consumer after some of these numbers that have come in post-holiday weekend.
Pretty incredible numbers on the online side of things, so let's dive right into it. Thanksgiving, by far my favorite week of the year, bar none. My birthday, your birthday, July 4th, Christmas to New Year's, Thanksgiving's the best week of the year. And like you said, I think consumers felt that warmth in their heart as well, because according to Adobe Analytics, consumers did $11.8 billion in online shopping on Black Friday. That is a record. Obviously, it broke last year's record. And I mean, if you were watching, I don't know if you caught this, the Bears played the Eagles on Friday or something.
Missed it.
Friday.
Who are they?
The Bears are 9-3 now. We'll have to get to that at some point. But every single commercial, you had a pop up to buy something from Amazon because it was an Amazon game. Like, it's insane the way that the advertising is working right now online. But just incredible numbers. I mean, what do you make of a record-setting online number for Black Friday in the face of really negative consumer confidence data?
Well, the consumer confidence data, as you know, Jake, as we talk about it, is very suspect, let's say, very sus. In fact, if the kids would say that.
As the kid would say.
It's a sussy consumer confidence number because, as we've seen consumer confidence drop, it actually means usually the market's about to go up and vice versa. Your point about the advertising, very well taken. And I think it's amazing on Amazon's behalf what a great payoff for the game already, because the fact that I think I did alone buy 3 things probably off the television there just by mere suggestion, which I think, Jake, as some numbers I've seen just kind of back of the napkin, looks like that's translating into billions of sales just for Amazon alone through that medium. So yes, the Adobe numbers that came in, very, very good, strong, and to quite strong really, and then some. And then also how about the fact that over the weekend holiday, at least as Friday rather, so not over the weekend holiday, but just for Friday alone, $18 billion on Black Friday, which has taken obviously a lot of these companies into the black, maybe not even from the red, but more into the black. So you're talking about 79 billion globally, roughly speaking, according to Salesforce. Big weekend, Jake, and a big way for the consumer to come through and keep this economy moving along.
And it's just going to keep coming from the online sales perspective. I mean, they're expecting reports of $5.5 billion both Saturday and Sunday of last week, and then we'll get the Monday number, I assume, at some point today from Cyber Monday. But that really is, the big online day. It used to be when you were a kid, and I know you were on a show a handful of years ago, many years ago, and said on camera that your favorite thing to do with your family when you were growing up was to stimulate economic activity and consumer spending, which is just a beautiful, beautiful sentiment for the holiday season. But Monday was Cyber Monday. I mean, that used to be like, I would go to the mall at midnight on Friday. I'd get trampled out in the suburbs of Illinois by everybody trying to get into like lids and what else? I mean, every other store that was
Foot Locker,
H&M, Foot Locker, exactly.
Zoomies.
Now you don't have to move a muscle off your couch to buy whatever you want, and it's there usually the next day from Amazon. I mean, the online side was great. The foot traffic for this year was down 3.6% from last year, which was down 2% from the year before. So, I mean, you're really seeing brick and mortar stores struggle, which I think lends itself to, like we saw with Walmart and ChatGPT and OpenAI a month ago, and having those models be implemented into some of these retailer systems so that you can actually just you can have an AI agent recommend sales to you and recommend things to buy. I mean, the world is becoming more and more and more and more online, and that's only going to continue.
Yeah, well, you said a lot there. First of all, there's nothing more that I'd like to see
Welcome to my world
on Black Friday night than seeing you getting trampled outside the mall. Honestly, I was just envisioning that the whole time you were ranting there. But I want to see those videos of that. I want to see the closed circuit TV security camera of you outside of a store getting trampled. I love that image. The numbers are pretty shocking. I mean, another 4%, Jake, down on foot traffic this year, and it's like, when you look at that overall, I mean, as a trend, it's gigantic. And if it keeps going that direction, you're right. There's not going to be a lot of people that are left going to the stores. However,
down 200% at one point.
Yes, I've heard that too. And also the show that you mentioned when I got made fun of for, I guess, going out with my dad and making economic activity was from The Daily Show making fun of me back in 2013, talking about how great the consumer is can be on Black Friday weekend and or Thanksgiving weekend. They didn't like that. They maybe didn't like economic activity and therefore they made fun of me about it. But here's the thing. If you're getting everything online, I guess the one question I have is, if you're getting it through AI or whatever, what else are people doing, though? That's really the question I kind of have now is, great, AI is giving you all the things you ever wanted, ever dreamed of. But, like, what else are you doing with your time than going to the store? At some point, going back to the store, Walmart included, is going to be fun because nobody's going to be there. You're probably going to get in safe and sound, Jake. Nobody's going to trample you, although they should. And there's something else, too, to think about. I hope these stores don't just bail on that concept, where they just close everything, shut down the bricks and mortar. You build data centers everywhere Walmarts are. And then there's your data center AI, and the AI takes over the world and we become less important and less significant as human race.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we saw with movies. I mean, you had COVID kind of shut down, obviously, all public spaces, and movie theaters took a huge hit from that. So companies were going straight to, that's kind of the rise in like Apple and Amazon and Netflix movies. Yep. And so you had movies going direct to the streaming services. Now going to a movie, though, feels kind of nostalgic. Like you go,
amazing.
There's nice reclining seats, you get a thing of popcorn and usually a Coca-Cola and cherry sushi. And you chill out for 3 hours. So I think maybe you're right. Maybe there will be some nostalgic feel from going into the mall or going into a brick and mortar store at some point. I wonder for these companies if it benefits them, obviously, to have it online and people can't touch and try on, but also from a return standpoint. I know I don't return anything. So like if something doesn't fit,
I try to.
Yes, so what? But if I order something online and it doesn't fit or it doesn't work or it's not to the size specifications, I definitely don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out or putting it to the side. So they've got to be like raking it in on stuff that is just not being returned.
It's a hell of a point, actually. And I agree. I have so much stuff I need to return. I'm thinking about it right now. And instead of being at the conference, I feel like I got like a whole day I could spend cleaning out stuff that I could return. So listen, I think that's an interesting concept. The question I have too, though, is what's the last movie you went to in the theater?
That's a good question. I mean, I used to see every Marvel movie in theaters with my brother. Those have completely fallen off, so we've kind of abandoned that. What is the last movie I saw? Sinners I saw over the summer. I thought that movie sucked, but I've seen a couple movies this year. I would like to get in to see Now You See Me 3 at some point soon.
Nice. I haven't seen one in probably 5 years, and I couldn't even tell you the last one I saw. And that's too bad. As a guy that even has a couple kids that kind of used to like movies, that tells you something about the state of affairs here and kind of where we're probably going. And that's a little thing to think about, too, as an investor as we go forward here and jump to the next topic.
Yeah, I mean, on the next topic and the next month or so. So we've got Thanksgiving. Obviously, we've talked about the holiday season in regards to the Fed, in regards to the market, in regards to sports, in regards to our own personal lives. The National Retail Federation is estimating that U.S. shoppers are going to spend over $1 trillion for the first time ever in this Thanksgiving to Christmas run-up. Again, seems incredibly incongruent with the Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index, which is down to 88.7, the fourth consecutive month that it's down. This index ranges from 4 to like 140, down for the fourth straight month, down to a new low over the last few years. But again, we've got these record sales, these record projections. And you can't really say at this point that the Black Friday and Cyber Monday stuff is the upper 1% because I think everybody's shopping. Everybody's got to shop for the holidays. Everybody's got to shop for Thanksgiving. So there's a lot of spending going on, but yet we are negative on the economy, negative on our own income. Where's the incongruency?
Who's we? I mean, that's the thing. That's the problem I have is who's this we? Because not that you're using the term wrong, but it's like, who are the people that are answering this survey or these polls? It gets bifurcated. You get political stuff invented or inserted into it. And I think they maybe just ask people on the wrong day. The survey data is really weird. But if you look at the data overlaid with spending over the course of, you got to expand it. I mean, look back the last 20 years. there's a weird correlation or reverse correlation, negative correlation to the two, because maybe when people feel worse about wherever they are, they go spend more money and rack up credit. I mean, you look at credit numbers, on credit cards, buy now, pay later, the stuff from Affirm that's come out over the course of the last couple months. Those are high, and defaults are high. But here's the thing. See, people, negatively look at defaults as a bad thing, when in reality, it's because banks have enough capital to extend to people that are maybe less than creditworthy borrowers. Some of those people do rise up and become creditworthy. Some don't. Some creditworthy borrowers right now fall into, oh my goodness, less creditworthy borrowers. I mean, that's the cycle. The point in my estimation, though, Jake, is the effect of money velocity. When we talk about currency, sales, money, revenue that flows through the system. You said money, money, money at the beginning of the podcast here, and that was correct, because it's like when you look at flows of money, speed of which it moves, called money velocity. That's a number out of the Fed. M1, M2, M3 is the abbreviations. Like, you look at these numbers, they don't really do a good M3 anymore. They used to, which would show you some real data. But the reality is that the numbers that show that money's going through the economy is good. The velocity gets higher. That's good. It's inflationary too, but it's also, to your point, it's good that some things are happening on the credit side of things, because that keeps the economy going in the case of when we have these little short bumps where we're looking like we're going to contract.
Money, money, money. Great show. I won't name it just because of, I won't.
You know who it is.
It was
A great NBC show. Let's put it that way.
The buy now pay later stuff is 100% a piece of this, and there's something that we talked about on one of our first episodes, was the rise in Affirm and Klarna and all these tools that allow you to essentially take out credit on individual purchases one at a time. And I think that's got to have an impact on some of the spending, where a lot of this holiday shopping that people know they have to do can probably be put off for a month or 2 months or 4 months or 6 months at very low interest rates.
Yes.
But we've got the consumer confidence down pretty significantly, and we don't know who that is polling. But some other economic data that's come out, we had a 119,000 jobs added from the November jobs report on the 21st. That was for September. So now we're at an 80% plus chance for a rate cut in December, or next week, really, December 10th. That comes out off the back of John Williams from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York saying that he'd be open to rate cuts. He was previously, someone that wanted to remain stable. So we're now looking at another rate cut, a third consecutive rate cut, down to a third 3.5 to 3.75 baseline. That would be the first time since September of 22, when we got that massive 75 BIP rate hike, that we're under 3.5 or at 3.5. Where are you at in your understanding, or I would say your appreciation of the Fed's moves in the last 6 months? Do you still think we should
appreciation
pause, or are you in for the third cut here?
I'm not in for any cuts. I mean, I've never been in for any cuts in the last six, and the potential last 6 cuts. How about that? 0 for 6. The Fed is. Why are we cutting rates? We've got consumer spending at record highs. You got markets that are 5% max off highs. Some stocks, they're 20 and 25. I get that, but those are also up like 130% and going into November, so whatever. And it looks to me like the Fed doesn't need to be putting more gunk in this economy, really, is what I think it is. It's trying to force rates down when they shouldn't be going down, and for good reasons, because the economy is going fast enough and, I guess, fiery enough to make sure that we can at least keep up with things, and markets are going up because of that, or at least were. It's kind of funny now, if you look at how the Fed started to cut rates, again, the markets kind of have leveled off quite a bit, in fact, pulled back, so that's something to think about. Well, rates have gone up. So that's strange. This curve is steepened, which would indicate no more stimulus is probably needed if there was indeed like an inflationary or disinflationary environment, of which there's not. So my take is just, as it always has been, Jake, is that I think they should stop right here. I think they should wait. I think they should see if the economy does fall apart. And according to whoever you ask on whatever day, they'll tell you the economy is really great or it stinks. And so I still think it's really great.
Yeah, and if you thought we were wasting a cut back in November, like you said, I assume you are doubling down and think this is absolutely a waste of.
They'll probably knock one more in. I bet you they knock one more in just for good measure, just to say, hey, we did everything we could in 2025.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting because the landscape that we're in right now is one of such uncertainty due to the shutdown. I mean, it's been almost 3 weeks since it's been over, the record shutdown, blah, 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 blah. But we're still seeing the effects of that delayed and or lapse in data, and that's challenging the Fed. And so I think the best course of action, as we said a week out from the next Fed meeting is just to continue as planned, like we talked about a few weeks ago. Because what are they going to do? They're not going to cut next week and then say, we needed new data to come out. Like that's not how these cycles work. They don't really need the month to month data to decide what they're doing 3 weeks later. It's supposed to be a more holistic picture than that. And I think your comment about the market, like the market's rallied back really hard off of the November 20th, intra-month lows. And we're only like 1%, 2% off the all-time highs from October. So we have bounced back. I mean, it was a weird situation where I know you loved this, but the government was shut down, the market was going up, the government opened, the market went down. And so we've bounced back. We've had some good data. We've had some good information come out. Obviously, there's good feelings around Thanksgiving that I genuinely do think plays more of an emotional role than it probably should. But I think they have to cut because otherwise it's signaling that they really were wishy-washy in the first place and there wasn't really a plan. And we know these people and they're not going to do that.
They're not going to. Well, I mean, look, it doesn't matter, I guess, what they do because as we know, how about this? The Fed is emasculated. The Fed is dead. There's your shirt. The Fed is dead because here's the thing. Next year, this is going to be the Fed that you knew because Jay Powell's going to be gone. They're going to switch around a bunch of governors. There's going to be a hell of a tie to the administration, it seems like, going forward, which, forget the whole separation of church and state there. That's gone. And so, hey, like this is going to be a different Fed. So maybe just have some more fun while the party's still happening and kick another 25 in and just know that, like, whatever they do today, man, is going to be so much different than what they're doing a year from now that it may not even matter.
The parents haven't come home for the party yet. We don't have to turn the music off.
Grape juice is not spilled on the couch yet, but it's going to be. And then you flip the couch over, the cushion over, and then you realize you did that last weekend, and you got both sides of the cushion kind of stained, and then you got to go out and get a new couch for mom and dad.
Oh, God. So we had the last week of November was a tumultuous trading month. I mean, as far as first of all, typical Novembers are the best trading month of the year historically, and we had a negative November. But like I said earlier, we rallied pretty hard off of the lows coming out of that government reopening. I mean, the S&P from November 19th to November 26th picked back up about 2.5%. The NASDAQ picked up somewhere close to 4%. So we had a really bad November turn into just a slightly down November, which has kind of reinvigorated the market a little bit. Yesterday was down also, but today's up. And I think the interesting part about it is not the up and down. It's the attribution of where this performance is coming from. So we know and we cover that typically the S&P 500 is driven by the Mag 7 or the Mag 8, depending on how you want to classify Broadcom these days. What I found really interesting was for the month of November, it was 4-4 on the Mag 8. We had four of the names that were up on the month, 4 names that were down on the month. The couple ones to cover that were up, Google was up huge, obviously, which we'll talk about. Broadcom was up. Apple keeps continuing upwards. And then on the downside, obviously, if Google's up 14%, given the size of a constituent that it is, you need to have one of the giants go down. NVIDIA, the largest name in the S&P, was down almost 13% off of just continued
good numbers
and swirling ideas that all these deals are circular and they're paying for clients and is there going to be all this competition? So I'll leave it up to you. Which name do you want to start with first? What name kind of stuck out to you the most in November?
I mean, the NVIDIA story was just one that was just a horror movie and also a television drama, after school special, maybe even, if those would remember that beautiful series. I just think it's one of those deals where you've got these companies, Jake, that are just so well functioning and so just diving into the future so hard that it's hard to value what these guys are doing and what they're going to become. But I think if you just conceptually understand what the feature is of the technology, let's say, or the value add, or just, look at the, I think it was a guy, maybe somebody from Snowflake, or maybe he was in like a CoreWeave, was talking about how the AI explosion that's going to take place in the next 2 to 3 years is going to take work from people that used to take weeks to maybe hours, even less. And then, take work, not taking the job away per se, but taking away the time suck and just the stress and all the things that happen with this that maybe go around being human that affect the way the humans behave or are or act or feel. And so there's a lot of things that with NVIDIA, like the chips that they're distributing. We've talked a lot about the different demand curves for their chips that they have, which are just amazing demand curves. I mean, you look at like the spike of how much they're selling and how much they've got integrated even with the U.S. government here as far as investment. I think NVIDIA is the biggest story still because NVIDIA is the leader. Jensen Huang is your boy, Jake. I know you guys are tight. You talk about him a lot. You guys, awesome relationship. And Jensen's done a great job, man. You want to talk about one of the most important CEOs out there right now in tech land, it's him. And so as the numbers have come in greater and greater, the market's become a little more skeptical, as it should have. But I don't think there's a reason to be running for the hills with NVIDIA or some of the rest of that AI story, some of it, because it's getting sold off like it's going out of style, and I think it's just getting in style.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I think it's been a pronounced overreaction on the downside for NVIDIA, and a lot of it is strictly just from drawing parallels to the tech bubble in 99 and 2000, which we've talked about too. It's like, does NVIDIA have all these circular deals where they announce all these billion and $100 billion contracts, but they're also paying these companies to buy their chips? And then the other thing that I found interesting was finally, it seems like we've got some competition on the chip side. We covered AMD right after earnings. They had a really good report, and we said, is that the next challenger to NVIDIA? Broadcom came up last year as that possible next challenger, and we've kind of been waiting for two names in particular, Google and Apple, to elevate themselves in the AI space, and we're finally seeing it. So again, we've got 8 names on the list here. I'll choose Google. Google's Nano Banana Pro. Did you see their AI imaging model they came out with 2 weeks ago?
Absolutely gross.
Probably one of the most insane things I've ever seen. From taking a picture of a math problem and it completes the math problem in the handwriting on the paper, to essentially uploading a 100-page document and saying, create a whiteboard for me to present this on. This imaging model that they released, which was long awaited because we've been waiting for Gemini to kind of challenge some of the other rivals there. It just insane and looks like you said, take something that might take somebody weeks or hours into seconds. This looks like it could probably wipe out a lot of jobs. I made a mistake at Thanksgiving of saying one of the jobs I think it could wipe out, and it happened to be somebody in the room in my family, so I won't say it again. But the Nano Banana Pro, the Google AI imaging model, looks absolutely insane, and I think it's just a precursor to what's to come with them, because again, we've been waiting for Google. Like that's a tech leader. They've been a tech leader for 30 years. We've been waiting for them to join this arms race in AI, and they finally did.
Yes, and I think that's been showing off in the stock prices. And look, the job thing, I think, is overdone. I think it's overblown. It's getting overplayed, especially somebody like you, Jake, that works so hard and does such a good job. You're irreplaceable. As I say that, kind of laughing through that. You're amazing. But listen, you got to understand the concept here. If AI goes ahead and takes my job or takes our job, Jake, and they make an AI bot of you and me that do a better job, which would be really, really hard to do, I'm sure. It's like, we're going to be fine. I mean, that's going to be a better life for maybe you and me anyway. Give it to the bots. Who cares? We might be bots right now. I really don't care. I think it's a great thing, and I'm looking forward to that future. Here's the other quick thing, though. I'm going to take Amazon, actually, on that list. Add that to the list of the AI threats, because if you look, AI Web Services, or Amazon Web Services, having an AI special out in Vegas, where you and I should be right now. I'm not in Vegas, in Florida, but sunny Vegas, I guess, is Sarasota, as where I am. And it's like they brought out a comment about their comment in the chip market and how, and NVIDIA is dominating that area, obviously, as we talked about. They've got 90% probably market share, maybe 85% NVIDIA does. Amazon's going after that, as they mentioned, with their basically their Trainium chip, and so it's like they're trying to do basically a comparison, or at least some sort of competition with NVIDIA in that space with this Trainium 3 chip. So that's another area too that they just announced today that was going to be exploding. They think in the next couple of years, stocks up a lot on it. So I think that's the other kind of side of things too, is there's going to be a lot of winners besides NVIDIA. NVIDIA is still the leader, still the lead horse, still the messaging comes out of NVIDIA to kind of go out throughout the space, I think, is how it affects these other companies. But there'll be a few winners. Google's obviously, like you said, one of them with the Gemini. I got to watch out for Amazon in this space too.
Agreed. I don't think you could ever seen this trend and this movement over the last 3-4 years in AI and said it's only going to be NVIDIA. They're always going to box everybody else out. That's not how these things work. Success generates competition, which I think is a great thing. And it's a show me, it's a prove it thing, that NVIDIA is going to have to keep developing the best chips to keep demanding to be the number one supplier.
And price. Don't forget about price too, Jake. The demand versus the supply is another thing, which is a good thing. Like everybody's going to freak out and be like, oh my gosh, we got all these chips out there. We've got too much, now we have too many chips. First, we have too much demand.
Right,
Depending on what day it is, it's like, do we have too many chips or too much demand? The best part is if we get more supply, as in chips, more stuff, that's going to drive prices down. It's going to keep inflation down. It's going to keep things less expensive, like keep things flowing. So the market sets the price over time because the supply and demand curve meet up versus like whatever you hear on your TV, radio, or Facebook.
The question still remains to me and probably to everybody is the power and the energy to run all these data centers. And we still don't have a clear answer to that as OpenAI and NVIDIA and Apple try to open all these mega gigawatt centers across the country, and they're looking for land and power. And is that going to be solar? Is it going to be wind? Is it going to be nuclear? I mean, there's got to be some sustainable answer to that if all of this demand is really going to turn into anything other than just fizzing out.
Well, that's the other thing is that you notice in these comments and the ones we kind of make, we talk about the power supply issue a lot. I mean, I think it's an everyday American thing they should be worried about, because if you look at where the data centers exist, a lot of them are outside of like DC. There's some in New York, in Chicago area, outside of Chicago, in California. The point is the ones in DC, which is where biggest concentration is, just in like Virginia, you get power supply issues there still going on. I mean, even nowadays, even where people know where the power supply issues are, you're still getting them. So that's something to consider. And I think too, when everybody announces these chips and this production and the new availability of these GPUs and stuff, like they never talk about the power supply because they know that's the dirty little secret. Like that's the dark horror, and that's something that you got to keep an eye on. I think Constellation Energy has something interesting going on with some of the nuclear stuff, some of the partnerships with data center builds, and then maybe NextEra Energy. But it's going to be an emerging part of this economy is going to be how to deal with that power issue, because that's not a joke. I mean, that's a real deal thing that you're not getting the data centers if you don't get the power supply to them.
Yeah, I mean, those could be like the hardware companies of the tech bubble, where you had, obviously everybody ended up a loser from the tech bubble, but you've got to be able to create some of these systems. And if you need power, I would, maybe look to power, which is a good transition. We're in December.
Well, one last thing we'll say, don't bring back Global Crossing, GX. If you remember those, if you're a history investment person, I mean, Global Crossing was one of probably the biggest jokes of the tech bubble that didn't have the crossing or the globe, really, across the globe, or the materials and the pipes to do it. But that was one that similarly reminded me of the comment about these next power companies. So go on.
I thought it was toiletpaper.com.
It was Scott's Tissue. Yeah.
We are finally or already in December, depending on how you want to look at the year, in these last 6 months listening to us. So what's the strategy you're discussing with clients for the end of the year here? Because yes, another positive year, but there's some concentration. I mean, every sector overall is up on the year, but there's still 100 stocks or so in the S&P 500 that are down on the year. And so not many people probably own many of those names because they're concentrated in tech and the mega caps and whatever. But I think there's been an opportunity that hopefully people have taken over the last month to at least trim. Tax loss harvesting isn't all about selling losers. You can sell winners for less. And so you've had that opportunity in the month of November when we were down 5% on November 19th and 20th to kind of be opportunistic and pull off some of this. I mean, NVIDIA is down 13% in a month. I don't even know why you're smiling and laughing.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Sell winners for less. Like, what is this?
There's got to be a strategy. You can't just hold things forever, dude.
No, what is this? Like Robert's Appliances, sell winners for less? Like what are we selling here? I mean, dude, why would you sell? I mean, looking back on it, yeah, we probably should have gotten out on November 6th or whatever day that was, right? But like I just saying, if you're an overall investor looking for risk, looking for opportunity, looking for upside, believing in the economy, believing all these amazing, like this freaking internet of 2020 decade happening here with AI, like an internet-sized boom shakalaka, boom goes the dynamite, goes AI. That's a Purdue kid that did a show about the sports back in the day and said, boom goes the dynamite.
We're up 122-3 on them in football in the last 2 years. I don't care.
I know you are. Well, Purdue sucks in football, and they'll kick your butt in basketball. Actually, your program's coming back. IU is. So there's just going to be, there's going to be fits and starts to selling and buying, obviously, into the end of the year. I think folks that want to get out because they're nervous should get out, certainly, because you're going to see more volatility. There's going to be bad days. Mama said there's going to be days like this, but the market is still going to be trending upward in the near future. It's just, when you get in, when you get out is key. I think you diversify the holdings a little bit. Maybe you find some stuff that's going to chill out. You have stuff like waste management that's out there that's a good kind of hold as far as like something that's like chill, that pays a dividend. Chevron's been another one that's been on our radar. Nice dividend, bouncing back in the oil space, but again, volatile. So I would just hang out in some of those names, but I wouldn't get out completely at all as far as some of these other tech names, because either they've already been hammered or you're going to see good news come out of them soon. And that's the kind of good news that will refire the strong hands that get into the stock and push it up.
Let me ask you one off the cuff here. What do you think about speaking of a dividend name bouncing back? But what do you think about UNH, United Health? I mean, I look at it and it was completely beat down in April, obviously, with the assassination of the CEO, which was just terrible. And then following, you had some litigation against UNH for kind of price gouging, but that's a little bit in the rearview mirror. Stock has not rebounded hardly at all over the last 6 months. This is the largest name in healthcare. Eventually, it's got to come back, right?
Yeah, I mean, healthcare in itself is starting to get a little more love because it got smashed for 2 years in the bull market, and so everybody was thinking like, "What the hell's wrong with healthcare?" Well, you're starting to see it. I mean, assassination notwithstanding, it was not a good kind of reveal on healthcare as a whole. Which is going on already. So that's probably why, I think that's why the stock, or at least the sector, has stayed low. Pharmaceuticals is another one, Jake, that was getting hammered for years that has started to come back. Again, a healthcare, let's say, offshoot subsector in certain circles. So I think that there's a good thing to come with healthcare when you look at market volatility. I mean, when you're looking at all the volatility that healthcare has had, basically in the last, let's say, bull market run, 3 years, they've had a lot of volatility, especially kind of earlier on. And so I think there's a reason to look at healthcare as maybe that staple, maybe more like a consumer staple that you can hold in the next couple of years, because volatility is certainly, I think, going to start to tick up a little bit, as are interest rates. And so that's another reason to kind of chase some of those dividend stocks as they may be raising dividends just because of the capital that's coming in.
So you have interest rates ticking up over the next couple of years?
Yeah. I mean, I think because we're going to have inflation, I think the economy is stronger than people think. I think the Fed's going to stop cutting, which will let rates be actually what they need to be, which I think that, listen, it's not much higher. It's 430, 435, maybe a 440. Do I hear 440 on the 10-year? And everybody's going to freak out and be like, oh my God, it didn't go to 3. Really? CPI is above 3. Any other measurement of inflation is 3 to 4 to maybe 5. I mean, roughly. Wage growth is such to where it's keeping up closely. So there's enough there to let stuff relax and chill out. To your point about selling winners, why don't we sell the winner that's the economy? I mean, it's not that bad. Why are we feeding it this dog food?
I like it.
How about some fades or trades? Or you want to talk about bears before? You want to talk? You want to do some grandstanding? What do you want to do, man? Go ahead, take the floor.
I got to do some grandstanding. Some I'll say guarded grandstanding. So you want to talk about selling a winner? I mean, the Bears have defied all odds this year. I mean, we'll go around the NFL because there's an awesome weekend in the NFL to cap an awesome Thanksgiving weekend, an awesome consumer spending weekend. So it's pretty great all around.
True.
But the Bears on Amazon Black Friday football game, I mean, just beat the out of the Eagles. Bleep that out, please. But 250 yards on the ground, 120 yards from both of our running backs. This Eagles defense, Tyler and I were talking about this before the game, and I was like, I'm excited because it's got to be a Caleb game because the Eagles will shut down the run game. Nobody can shut down this run game. Now, here's the thing. 9-3, first in the NFC. I said that right. NFC, not just NFC North. The thing is, nothing matters except the Packers this weekend. Okay, this team for 30 years has had 3 quarterbacks. They beat us over and over and over and over again. They're second in the division. They're hot on our tails. We've got 2 games versus them the rest of the way. This weekend is the biggest Bears game since the double doink. And the day before that is Indiana-Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship, which is the biggest Indiana football game ever. And I don't care if they played in some national championship in 1928 or whatever. This is the biggest Indiana game ever. There's a 23-hour window this weekend that either I'm going to feel like a king, I'm going to feel okay, or I could be broken as a man. And
what's okay?
They're okay. Okay would be Indiana fights and the Bears win.
Yeah, it has to be a win. Okay is not if they lose both games. I'm just going to make that clear.
If they lose both games, I'm dead.
Yeah, you're not okay. That's right. I want to make sure that's not okay. I think you actually are onto something good. I mean, I don't really want to say much because, it's your floor and the Vikings suck. And even the veteran Adam Thielen, who's Mr. Minnesota, just left the team pretty much and said, I want out of here.
Jefferson looks miserable out there. I don't blame him.
It's well, yeah, but it's ridiculous. I can't. It makes me sick to my stomach. So, it's like the Bears, though. I think actually that's the biggest game. I think Indiana, Ohio State, man. I think there's going to be something good there. But the Bears Packers, man, going to Lambeau. Is that a 4 o'clock? Is that a 4 Eastern game or is that a 1 Eastern?
It's the game of the week.
Oh my God, that's Tony Romo, or is that? It's Tony, and so look,
it's Fox.
It's Tom Brady, yeah. So it's like there's going to be another situation, as you know, where there's going to be a lot of great games at Soldier Field left in the year, and I think that's going to be the most exciting thing. There's going to be some amazing winter football in Soldier Field. Both January 4th, I'm going to that game against the Lions, last home game of the year. I'm not a Bears fan. I'm not jumping ship. I'm just saying good football is good football. We've loved the NFL this year, Jake. We've been all over the NFL. If people want to see how podcast goes around, we hit the NFL pretty hard.
I agree. I gotta give you credit again. The second time this year for a take that I thought was so lame in July when you said there's gonna be parity in this NFL. There's nobody that's. I mean, the Rams are the best team in the NFL, but they just lost to the Panthers.
Some weeks, yeah.
This it's a circular league right now where like all of the good teams are losing to okay teams.
It's so
really
fun.
Bad? We know who's really bad. That's the funny part. We have no idea who's really really good.
How about this? Let's do our usual. Let's do our usual. Who's the worst team, though? We got to do our usual. Like, here's the update, though. That doesn't change. The worst team in the league.
It's the Raiders. It's not close.
No, it's not, dude. It's the Titans, dude. The Titans are the worst team in the league.
It's not the Titans. The Titans have a head. They have a first-year quarterback. They have an interim head coach, and they suck. The Raiders have a 15th-year quarterback, a second-time winning head coach. You know, Max Crosby on defense, the 4th overall pick at running back. Last year's like 5th overall pick at tight end, and they suck. Like they're so uncompetitive. It's the worst team in the league, bar none.
What do you think's going on there? What's going on there then? I mean, Tennessee's not good enough or smart enough to get the good players, but what's up with the Raiders then? And in Las Vegas, to your point.
I think Pete Carroll's done. I think this is a one and done. I think there's no way he could be enjoying himself. I think like you got to go. This is as bad as it possibly could have gone. They beat the Patriots in week 1 or 2, which now looks like
ridiculous,
like upside down world because the Patriots have won 10 straight since then. But this is as bad as the season could have possibly gone. And it's like with the guys that were supposed to be on the team. So it's not one of these situations where you could say, oh, well, Burrow's hurt, so Bengals season's a wash. No. Geno was the guy from the start of the season. The team sucks on offense and defense. I think it's a one and done for Pete Carroll. And that's the official retirement right there.
Could it all be Pete Carroll, though, is the question. Like, do the players, like, need him that much to, like, succeed? I mean, you got Ashton Gianti, who's, like, your boy. I know everybody loved him, and everybody wanted this guy, and he's got, 635 yards on the ground this year? And, I mean, granted, he's not getting a ton of carries, but the guy hasn't been that great. I mean, he's got 181 carries. His average is 3.5 yards a game, or per carry. 64 yard is his long.
31 this week.
What?
He had 15 for 31 this week.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So, like, how is that all Pete Carroll is my point, dude? Like, somebody's not performing on that team. That Tom Brady owns part of the team. Like, what the hell is going on there? He can't fix it. I just don't understand what's going on there other than I think the Titans, given that they actually go out and try and do what they could do when they try to go out and actually make themselves a team, that team sucks. There's nobody on that team that is worth even talking about except for Cam Ward, who's leading the league in sacks again by like 20.
Okay, I agree. I mean, let's flip to college real quick. The story I want to talk about, the championship games are the championship games. I'm excited for them. I got a wedding on Saturday during the Big
Congratulations.
Ten that I just cannot believe. My boy, shout out Jamar, I'm his best man. That's okay.
Congrats, Jamar.
You know what's the biggest story of the weekend for college football, even with the championships approaching, is Lane Kiffin. I mean that. So Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss head coach, he's got a very storied past of kind of being
getting
a sleazy guy, bouncing out of schools whenever he gets a new offer.
He
takes Ole Miss to their first college playoff ever. He beats Mississippi State on Friday to do so, and then immediately rumors start swirling. I don't know if you saw ESPN's coverage of this. You probably couldn't have missed it. But Marty Smith, who's an ESPN reporter, was camped out in the Ole Miss locker room from Friday afternoon until Sunday. And every single halftime of game, every single news cycle for ESPN, it said Lane Kiffin's decision is imminent. I don't know that ESPN knows what the word imminent means because 2 days later it was announced that he was going to LSU. But so that's the backdrop. So you've got a guy that takes the team to their first college playoff, and then he leaves to take a better job. The problem is, A, Lane Kiffin's kind of a dirtbag for that, but B, the college football season, and this is an NIL thing, so now I'm talking about it like a business here. The college football season doesn't end after the regular season, but the transfer portal opens. So he's got to go to LSU if he's going to start recruiting for next season. He can't wait a month till after the playoffs. So they got to fix that immediately next year. I mean, the transfer portal cannot open until after the playoffs.
No, but yeah, because it's because dude, you're laboring Lane Kiffin for leaving and moving around. Yet you want the portal not opening yet, so that guys like that can move around. Which is, I mean, my take is he already was going to leave. You don't know what ESPN doesn't know what imminent means. They don't know what decision means. There was no decision. Like Lane was gone. Yeah. That's obvious. He wants to stay at Ole Miss though and finish, and they want him to get out of there.
Of course.
Dude, then I'm just saying he wants to do it, but they won't let him out. I mean, if they want him out of there, he wants to stay because I think he's already recruited guys to LSU, number one. They've got money to spend, number two. So he doesn't really need the timing. And listen, Lane Kiffin, man, I just remember some of the old stuff at USC. Man, he got bounced. And remember his dad, I think it was Monty Kiffin, who's more like some sort of relative, let's say. It was more my generation, who was a regal coach, let's put it that way. And so, the apple does fall pretty far from the acorn tree in the case of this. But you know what, man, the guys get paid. I hate LSU Tigers because they kicked the crap out of Ohio State a few times, especially down at the Sugar Bowl, where they got busted about, 2003 or something as a bad game. And so Ted Ginn and the guys. So it's just one of those things where I think LSU is the wrong place I want him to go, but I think they'll make the team better. And I feel to use another word, beep, for Ole Miss, because they had a great year. They've had a great couple seasons, and they were starting to really pipe up in the SEC.
Yeah, my problem, just to wrap it up, is not that the portal opens and I don't want Lane to leave. It's that he's got to recruit guys starting now to go.
Good, he is. I'm sure he is.
LSU. Otherwise, he misses the top recruits that aren't in the playoff. So just end the whole season after the playoff. He can make his decision after the playoff. The transfer portal for the players opens after that, and then you get people moving. It's ridiculous. Ole Miss is going to go into the playoff, deservedly so, with no offensive staff. I mean,
no, they're going to look like crap. I mean, maybe that's the fate of the trade, which we should get to now. But I hear he's already recruiting people. So I mean, the recruits are on. They know they're going to LSU next year. They just haven't said it yet.
For sure. All right,
transfer.
Let's wrap up. Let's wrap up with fade or trades for the day. We've got an abridged version today, obviously, as we're virtual. Scott's down at the Money Show in Sarasota. My voice hurts a little bit. Scott, this one's near and dear to your heart. Fade or trade, Bitcoin has finally hit rock bottom. Back up off the lows of 85,000. Big day today, up I think 4.5%. So have we finally hit rock bottom?
Oh, Jake, my rock bottoms are further up than even your highs. Okay, so just leave that. Just leave that alone. And I think much like myself, I just came up with that. Much like myself, I think Bitcoin has hit a bottom. I think there's probably going to be this bouncing along the bottom, but I think your bottom is in on Bitcoin. And I think that's just because there's too much negative Nancy carry trade crap out there. There's too much of this. There's a data feed issue. There was Tom Lee getting beaten up. There's people on Bloomberg talking. It's just like everybody's gone in the Bitcoin fade. And so I think at some point it becomes a trade. And I think it's very soon. In fact, I'll be adding to it probably right about now as a buy-in.
Yeah, I'm going to trade that as well. I mean, we talked about the highs being around 127,000 or so, and bounced down to 84,000. So you sold off almost about a third of the market cap in there. And so, yeah, I'm going to fade that as well. Or I'm going to trade that as well. Sorry. Especially if we get a rate cut again.
I heard a fade in there. And you know what? I heard a fade in there. You're going to get a rate cut, and that's probably going to boost some risk assets. But we know rate cuts can kind of be a little disappointing. Jake, I'm going to take the second fade or trade here because I got to throw this one at you because it reminds me of you going through the airport and getting trampled outside of Macy's. Sunday was the busiest travel day. I know it was okay. Fine, it's Nordstrom or Harry's Big and Tall. Sunday was the busiest travel day in U.S. history. 3.13 million travelers or people were screened at TSA. Another million probably got kicked out of the airport because they're carrying contraband or on the no-fly list, blah, blah, blah. Point is 3.13. Now, we're getting a record-breaking day. So that was a record-breaking day for travel in the U.S. on Sunday. What is the next record-breaking day? Because man, the economy's cooking. People are flying. Even you are allowed back on the planes. What's the next busiest day? We're going to get something around Christmas?
First of all, I've never been called tall or had to shop in Big and Tall. So that
it's a great store. I think it's gone now.
I'm gonna say this was the record. I mean, it kind of I don't think so. I'm gonna fade that. I don't think New Year's or Christmas will break the record this year. It was a little bit serendipitous where Sunday of Thanksgiving this year was the 30th, or I should say the 30th was Sunday of Thanksgiving. So Christmas is on a Thursday this year. New Year's is on a Wednesday this year. I don't know that you're going to get one of those perfectly lined up like Sunday moves. I guess Sunday the 28th, so people are traveling for Christmas and then home for New Year's.
That's what I'm thinking.
Traveling for New Year's, but I'm going to fade it. I think this was the busiest travel day of the year, which is awesome. I mean, you always say go to check out a movie, by the way, when you talk about the economy, and you just admitted you've never been to a movie in the last 5 years. So go check out a movie, go to a restaurant, go downtown, go shopping, go to the airport. People are out, people are spending. I'm with you. I don't believe in the consumer confidence numbers, but I'm fading that there's going to be a higher travel.
And don't forget, too, Jake, this weekend, a lot of bad weather just went through the U.S. all over the place. I mean, southwest corners to Midwest and Northeast. You got a nor'easter blasting Boston, New York right now. Providence, Rhode Island getting pumped. So you got bad weather, too, which people are coming back from the shutdown. They were not afraid to fly, it looks like, this weekend. I think there's going to be more people out on Christmas weekend. So I think it is the 28th. I think we do get another record day by the end of the year, and it's probably around that weekend. And the weather, provided being good, will keep those numbers up.
Well, let's hit on your favorite topic, the weather, to wrap up our fades or trades for today. I was actually surprised this weekend. The weathermen and weatherwomen on the news channel were pretty spot on about how much snow we were going to get in Chicago. I mean, it snowed for 30 straight hours. But what we've been seeing across all of news channels, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you get your news these days, is that next week, the week of I guess that'd be the 8th. Also Fed meeting week, will be record cold weather across the Midwest and Northeast. What are your meters and graphs telling you about the weather next week? Are you fading or trading that?
It depends how you mean by record. I mean, if it's going to be cold, yeah. If it's going to be winter-like, yeah, it is. Isn't that the weirdest thing? Man. We're going to get it's actually going to get, here, we've got breaking news. It's going to get cold in Chicago in the winter. I mean, dude, you go somewhere like, Thunder Bay, Wisconsin, or Thunder Bay, I think Michigan, wherever. I think it's Thunder Bay, Wisconsin. It's like, it's going to be record cold up there because it's near the freaking Arctic Circle. I mean, there's polar air coming down, and it should. And so, there's going to be some records. I mean, maybe Duluth, maybe International Falls, Minnesota, sure. In Chicago, it's going to be cold. And I'm sorry to hear that because I'm going to be in Florida. I'll send you some warm weather. But it's not going to change anything. It actually makes people, I think, feel like things are maybe a little more normal because the last 2 years, I will point out, at least last year for sure, we had more snow in the southeast part of the United States than we did in the Midwest. Pensacola, Florida, and New Orleans, Louisiana had more snow last year than Chicago and Detroit did. So the fact that it's going to be actually winter-like and normal seems like a good thing to me, as is your economy, boys and girls. Normal, good, chill, and exciting, and active.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and fade this with no real numbers or data behind it, other than I feel like every year is going to be the coldest winter, the most snow, the El Nino, the La Nina, every single year, record snows, global warming, global cooling. I'm fading it. It's all hype. It's all fear mongering, dude. It's just like when the market goes red and we say everything sucks. I'm going to fade that there's going to be these record colds and it's going to be negative 20 degrees in Ohio and blah, 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 blah. It's just noise.
Yep, it's seasonal stuff, and it's about time we get some of it. So enjoy it. It's the only weather you got, as I once heard.
Well, Scott, enjoy the rest of your warm weather in Sarasota. You could probably use some sun. I see the blinds are closed there. Thank you all for joining us for this week's Positively Sloped, and we'll see you again next week.
Kingsview Wealth Management is an investment advisor registered with the SEC. Registration does not constitute an endorsement of the firm by the SEC, nor does it indicate that Kingsview has attained a particular level of skill or ability. Information presented is for educational purposes only.